Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Waiting to rise again.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the moment you've all been waiting for.
Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Friday. Means we're brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp. Jacob Beck and Jordan Kitchens back there on the ones and twos, fired up here with us. Hopefully that work week is in the rearview mirror for you. If it is not, we'll get you to the finish line here on ESPN Baton Rouge. Preston Guy in 15 minutes talking LSU football. Should the Saints trade Chris Olave? What happened in SEC baseball last night? What is to come in SEC baseball this evening? We're talking about all of it right here, and we're brought to you by Corks. Check the menu out online, corksfishandshrimp.com. I'll be pretty honest with you. Major last day of school vibes going on here at Guarantee today. Because, well, one, it's that time of year, but two, with T-Bob having his last day, had a little bit of a party after OTB this morning. There are some folks walking around this office, I'm not going to name any names, that have some buzzes going on from some of the champagne shenanigans and mimosas that were being passed out earlier. I abstained from all of that. Beck, I trust that you did as well.
You're a professional.
Just such a pro here that we don't want to put our show in jeopardy at all. But there were some who imbibed a little bit. So there's some, we got a golf tournament on out there. There's some last day of school vibes here, but we'll lock it in. Let's get things started the same way we do every single day with our Genesis opening drive.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive, presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge.
All right, we're starting where you would imagine we're going to start. Last night in Columbia, South Carolina, the Gamecocks 6, LSU 5. There are a lot of levels to this one, guys. It starts here. That was an awful loss. Awful. It was awful based on the opponent you were playing. It was awful based on the time of the year and the spot in the season. It was awful based on the score in the late innings. It was awful on so many levels, the way that result unfolded last night. Awful. And that's the most important thing. You lost the game. Because at this point in time, I don't really care how you play. I just care what the result says. And they need to win 2 games this weekend. They had a golden opportunity with their closer in the game in a 2-run lead with 6 outs to record, and they could not do it. And that is gutting. For the fan base. I know you were all in the middle of it last night, and certainly for the team. So that's number one. Number two here is Zach Cowan. If y'all listen every day, you're aware of my feelings on 2 weeks ago in College Station. He was on the mound when you lost the first game, and he was on the mound when you gave up the lead and lost the third game. My contention after Texas A&M was that he didn't pitch that poorly. He gave up a leadoff triple in the first game on a breaking ball that might have been off the plate away. And the guy hit it off the end of the bat, down the line, and it just landed barely fair. I didn't think it was awful. The home run that Caden Sorrell hit was a great swing by a great player. It was a fastball. It was at the knees. It was outer third. You can't walk him. You got to throw it over the plate. And the kid made a great swing. I didn't think anything of Zach Cowan's outing in College Station 2 weeks ago. And then he came back last week against one of the best lineups in the nation in Arkansas and pitched 3 shutout innings in a win. It was great. He pitched awesome. Last night, he was bad. He did not pitch well last night. And I say that because he fell behind a little bit. I say that because he got too much plate. He got knocked around. They hit the ball off the wall twice. They hit the ball over the wall once. He just did a bad job. And I'm just telling you, there aren't any pitchers in college baseball who start in middle of February and go through late June and are perfect the whole way. And Zach Cowan has not been. I don't think it's a huge cause for concern. I don't think it was egregious for Jay Johnson to put him in the game in the 8th inning and then to leave him in the game in the 9th, even though he gave up some hard contact. I've read a bunch of that as well. He's your closer. He's been sensational all year. He's going to be a finalist for the National Stopper of the Year, and he pitched like garbage last night, and it happens. It was a terrible spot for it to happen. It happens. But I excused the one in College Station. I understood what was going on there. I didn't think he made bad pitches. He got tattooed last night. I don't have another way to say it. So that's the second piece to this puzzle. The third piece here is that LSU dominated this baseball game for 5 innings. Dominated it. And really only had a 3-1 lead to show for it. You grounded into double plays in the second and the fourth when you had runners on first and second. And the only reason that pitcher is out there is to throw sinkers and hit ground balls. And if you're listening to the show yesterday, I said, look, everything he throws sinks. He has no life on his fastball. He's out there trying to hit ground balls, and if you don't get under the baseball and drive it, you're going to roll over some stuff. And LSU hit the ball pretty hard on the ground and rolled into multiple double plays that were hurtful. And then the fifth inning where you should have taken complete control of the game and you were just boneheaded on the bases. Michael Braswell ran through a stop sign. That's unacceptable for a freshman. It is unacceptable for a senior to run through a stop sign at that spot. Can't happen. And then Derek Curiel doesn't slide. And I've gotten texts about this. I've read on the internet about this. I have watched that play 11 times this morning where Curiel doesn't slide at third. And I cannot tell from the camera view that I'm given what Josh Jordan's signal means. He is clearly telling Derek Curiel to not overrun the base. You can see that. But I can't, without hearing him, I can't tell if he's saying stop right here or if he's telling him to slide. Either way, Curiel's got to get on the ground. I don't know if you're analyzing that and you are absolutely affirming that Josh Jordan did something wrong. I don't know what camera angle you're looking at. I've watched it 11 times. And he's pointing at the bag, which means don't overrun it, but I can't tell if he's saying get down or not. Either way, it's got to happen. And to get two guys thrown out at third base in one inning is just indefensible. That stuff can't happen. I can handle kicking a ground ball in the infield. I can handle at times giving up a home run. I can handle striking out. I cannot accept those kind of mental base running errors. You can't make those plays at this point of the year. So that was brutal from LSU. Now, another piece to this pie that I am not going to skip over, I've given you the top three things here. Awful loss. Cowan was bad. Base running and early opportunities were squandered in 3 of the first 5 innings. But Jaden Newt and Chase Shores were good. Newt ran out of gas and gave up the triple and the single, and then Shores came in and threw 2 great innings. But those 2 guys have pitched well lately and can be counted on moving forward. That's, I think, a very encouraging thing from last night in a very discouraging game. Newt was commanding the changeup well. He threw a couple of breaking balls. The fastball was up to 95 last night. I thought he looked great. And then Chase Shores in this new bullpen role really looks pretty comfortable. They've shortened up the delivery. He's going out of the stretch. That fastball is running at 97. He got it up to 100 last night. That was an encouraging piece to the game, even though you lost. And then there's this. You started Connor Ware, which I didn't have a big problem with. Like, I would have started Newt. I said that yesterday, but you started Connor Ware. Connor Ware is out of runway. It's too late to find it. And he will probably pitch some in the postseason because you have to basically use everyone in the course of a regional in Omaha, especially if you lose a game, and that's just the way it goes. You can't just get by with 4 or 5 guys. But expecting him to find some other gear is now unreasonable because he hasn't found it all year. He's been mediocre at times. He's been okay at times. He's been not great at times. Last night was atrocious. He hits the guy with the first pitch he throws, walks another guy in the first inning, but gets out of it double play, and then you come back and walk the bases loaded in the second. I tweeted this out. I said it yesterday. It was my number 1 key to the weekend. South Carolina is not going to do this on their own. You're going to have to help them because they're not any good. And to go out there and immediately put 3 guys on base via the walk in the second inning without them ever taking the bat off their shoulders is just unacceptable. You cannot do that. And you just handed him a run. Now, Newt came in and put the fire out, only gave up 1 run, but they got a run on it, and every run was precious last night. So Connor Ware was a guy that in the fall, they did not score a run off of him in the fall, not one time. He was the best pitcher on the staff, and he was good before the season. Jay Johnson talked him up. I certainly talked him up. He was kind of the talk of preseason as far as the pitching staff goes, and I thought he would be their Griffin Herring this year, and it just has not materialized. So you're probably going to see him again, but he's not taking that next step, and that's very disappointing because you only have so many guys, and you were looking for a couple guys to step forward, and I don't think Ware is going to be one of those guys. Maybe he's a situational lefty. You do have Primo, and you got Cooper Williams, and Dalton Beck is even on the roster, but that's a disappointing thing from last night. The offense was a C last night for me. Because they got 11 hits. That's a lot of hits. You got the home run from Dickinson. You created a lot of opportunities, but you also squandered some of them. So it wasn't one of those games where the bats completely went to sleep. We have seen that a little bit. This was not that. But it wasn't good enough. That pitching staff is bottom of the barrel. They've been just getting lit up like a Christmas tree for 3 weeks, and LSU didn't do enough. That's a staff that you ought to score 9, 10 runs off of. I realize it's a tall ask in a conference game, but you got to be a little bit better than that, and they weren't. So this is a very, very disappointing loss. It is not a crippling loss. But at one point last night, I looked up, and we'll talk about the rest of the SEC coming up in 15 minutes. I looked up, and Auburn was losing, and Vanderbilt was losing, and Arkansas was losing, and Alabama was losing, and everybody around LSU in the RPI was losing, and LSU had a 2-run lead with Callan on the mound, and I was going, this is about to be monstrous. And then Vandy hit a walk-off home run with 2 strikes and 2 outs in the last inning, and LSU coughed it up, and all of a sudden it didn't look as good as it once did while I'm monitoring all these games. It's a very, very, very disappointing loss on a number of levels. And you sit here now, LSU's 40-13, which is very good. They're 17-11 in the SEC, which is still a position of strength. And you've got your best 2 guys going the next 2 games. But that was a very, very, very disheartening loss because you had your dude out there. So now your bullpen's a little bit compromised. You don't have Calvin today. You don't have Newt today. You don't have Shores today. You do have Kason Evans, who's not in a starting role, so you can use him when you need to. But you need Cade Anderson and Anthony Ianson to go out there over the next 2 days and probably throw 14 innings for you. And that's something they're very capable of. That's something they've done a lot this year, but you're going to need it in the biggest spot of the season here as they finish the regular season. A disappointing loss for LSU last night. 6-5 was the final against South Carolina. So that's your Genesis opening drive here on this Friday. Always love to remind you about my friends over at Corks. If you're doing a catering, whether it's a graduation party, birthday party, having a family reunion this summer, and you need to feed a bunch of people, Corks is always happy to do that for you. Got those big, big trays of those crispy fried catfish, jumbo Gulf shrimp, shoestring fries, hush puppies, honey butter rolls. We've also got your crawfish etouffee. All of it is right there at Corks. Check out the menu, including their catering packages at corksfishandshrimp.com. That's corksfishandshrimp.com. We'll come back and talk some football with Preston Guy. That's next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
There it is, the extra mile. On the border of expected.
You know what you see when you look at your land. Where others may see dirt, you see the foundation you've built your life on. This, it's hallowed ground. It's past, present, and future. We're proud to provide quality John Deere equipment to help you maintain the land you love. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
ED, low T, or simply seeking to optimize your health and performance? Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness offers a range of discreet services to address your specific needs. We empower men to reclaim their health and confidence. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
These are the luckiest ice cubes in the world. They could have been a thankless bed for an all-you-can-eat salad bar. But instead, they've been called upon to cradle and cool a crisp, refreshing Dos Equis. Huh. Looks like the lucky just got luckier. Dos Equis.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
At Luba Workers' Comp, our journey began over 30 years ago with a simple belief: our clients come first.
At Luba, our business has always been focused on people, not policies.
Through every success and challenge, we've continued to grow because we've stayed true to our values, committed to providing you with genuine dependability.
Because your well-being is more than a priority. It's our purpose.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
I realize it's like probably not the right thing to make light of when 11 inmates escape from Orleans Parish Prison. That's a pretty serious situation. But one of them has been caught at Hotel Montleon. Is that correct?
I saw a picture on Twitter, and there were Louisiana State Police vehicles outside the Hotel Montleon, which is where the carousel bar is.
So hypothetically, guy might have busted out of the clink, gone straight to get a beverage at the carousel bar.
Yeah.
So that begs the question, Preston guy. If you bust out of prison in New Orleans, where are you heading first?
Man, out away from New Orleans, probably.
If you're smart.
Get far away. This guy just wanted a cocktail. Now he's headed back to the clink. So
I'm going to Mississippi in the woods. That's where I'm going.
Hiding in the woods. Well, we'll know where to look for you at that point. So I'll be able to help authorities if there's some sort of reward involved. All right, let's talk some LSU football. Kind of the dog days of LSU football, if we're being honest. Not a ton going on. This is generally the time where the coaches can step away before camp season really cranks. But there are a few things that I'd like to talk about. First, let's get your thoughts on SMU and LSU home and home.
Yeah, first off, I love that it's a home and home, although I will question the usage of their terminology for home and home, because it sounds to me a lot like SMU has a lot of intentions to move their game from, their stadium that I believe seats 40,000 people to probably AT&T Stadium there in Dallas-Fort Worth where the Cowboys play. So, calling it a home and home is kind of a, not true situation, but it is nice to see at least trending in the direction of more home and homes in college football. We see LSU going to Clemson this year. That's amazing. I think that's great for college football. And, even Verge Osbury acknowledged that this is what the fans want, so they've listened, and, there's probably less financial money on the table for LSU to do this versus a neutral site. But I just, more so than anything, I like the general direction. Also, I want to throw it, SMU is not going to be a program that's going to, roll over and be a gimme win anytime soon. I mean, that program under NIL is cooking right now. So that's going to be a good quality opponent you get. Maybe not a true blue blood, but it's going to be a good, fun game. And like I said, my favorite part about it is we're trending back with getting more home and homes in college football. It feels like a big win for the fan.
If I gave you autonomy and I gave you Verge Osbury's job and you got no input from Brian Kelly, you were just in charge of putting LSU's football schedule together moving forward, would you be calling Florida State and Clemson and Ohio State and Oregon, or would you be calling Purdue and Texas Tech and Boston College?
I've had a game plan ready to roll for this job for a very long time.
Excellent. I want to hear about it.
I am ready for this position if they ever call me. we're going to schedule a week 0 cupcake every year.
Okay.
Every year. You're going to add that extra bye week to your schedule, give your team a warm-up game, get the kinks out. And, yeah, we're going to do one marquee premier game a year. It's going to be the Florida States of the world. It's going to be the Ohio States, and we're going to do a home and home. That's we're going to go there, or they're going to come here, and it's going to be awesome. Remember the West Virginia series years back, that home and home. How much fun was that? We're not going to do neutral site games very consistently, and then you're going to play 2 teams in Louisiana. And that's how it's going to work, all right? So if we're ever interested in A.D. Preston, that's how your non-conference is going to look every single year.
It's interesting. Everybody's kind of got different thoughts on it, but I can tell you have put some thought into that for sure. You're seeing a lot of preseason polls that are starting to come out now that the portal is essentially wrapped up and rosters are basically set. Your thoughts on LSU and Clemson, LSU being a top 5 in a lot of polls, and Clemson teetering around the top of a lot of polls.
Yeah, I've seen Clemson as high as number 1 in some polls, which I think is certainly interesting. I think one thing that is interesting seeing these preseason polls, it's like any year in the past where there was no de facto, bona fide, great football team out there, at least on paper coming into the season. It's like, well, just give it to Saban. You know what I mean? So it's like any team that was number 1 in the past 15 years has either been Alabama or some team that looks really stacked on paper. And for the first time, think about this, the last time we didn't have that as a situation, we're talking about the days before Tim Tebow was playing football. So it's just interesting to see a team like that. And I don't think there is any team in college football who is truly head and shoulders above much other teams. I've seen a lot of hype around Texas, but that's putting a lot of faith in a guy who has not been a full-time starter yet, in Arch Manning. So in terms of LSU, where they're ranked right now, I think a lot of teams look at LSU's roster and they're like, man, that's a pretty complete roster. You've got a lot of portal guys coming in that are going to make an impact. You got a 5th-year, the leading returning passer in college football is coming back, Garrett Nussmeier. And you've retooled him with a bunch of weapons. I think fans are looking at that like, look, I don't know how the chemistry is going to work out because, sometimes you get the team on paper and then how they actually play together are 2 completely different things. So I understand the hesitation, but I think nationally guys are starting to look at these rosters and be like, that's one of the more complete rosters in the country.
If I went to the bank and withdrew 2 crisp 20s and a 10, gave you $50 to head to the window, and you had to bet an SEC player to win the Heisman, would you put it on Nussmeier?
SEC player to win the Heisman. Okay.
Lenore Sellers, Arch Manning, somebody in Tuscaloosa, Simpson.
Yeah, I would put it on Nussmeier. I will put a caveat on this. Arch Manning is going to have to do less than everyone in the country to win that Heisman. What do I mean by that? He's going to get that Manning hype. He's got the name. He's got the brand. So if Arch Manning goes out there and throws 35 and 12 for 3,800 yards, he's going to be at least in New York. So I think that he's going to have an easier time in that respect. But I have no idea what Arch Manning's going to do as a player. I just have no clue. So I wouldn't throw any money on him. Yeah, I would probably, in the SEC, I would throw my money on Nussmeier preseason.
And we'll see what happens at SEC Media Days coming up in July. But that, is, at least in my contention, is such a strong place to start the season for LSU, where you're entering the season in a spot where I think more than 5 out of 10 people would suggest you've got the best quarterback in the league.
Yeah, no, I would say preseason. I would be surprised if he's not, when we come in the media days, if he's not first team all conference. I mean, that's what you're expecting, right?
Yeah, I mean that. I think so. I think. I'm cautiously optimistic at this point for the entirety of the year. Speaking of cautiously optimistic, that's kind of how you have to live in the recruiting world. I know you just wrote up a story on 5-star offensive lineman Darius Gray for Tiger Bay. What can you tell us about that big time prospect?
Well, I'm gonna tell you this: it is interesting and different to see LSU going all across the country for these offensive linemen. Of course, this guy's out of Richmond, Virginia. He's rated as the #1 interior offensive lineman. And between talking to him and working through the grapevine, whispers and rumors, I feel very confident in LSU's chance with him. He takes an official visit June 13th, and I feel really good. What was interesting, I believe he told me it was either 6 or 7 official visits he's planning on taking in June, which, I actually had to go look up the rule. Apparently now in recruiting, you're allowed to take unlimited official visits, just one for each school. So this guy's going to town with the OVs here. But I think LSU's in a position where they can close strong if they have a good, strong visit on June 13th. He told me he wants to commit in the fall, but I would be a little surprised if let's put it like this. I wouldn't be surprised if LSU was able to steal the deal on him sooner than that. I wouldn't surprise me at all. So I think LSU's in good position, and all of a sudden, hey, watch out for this 2026 class. It's looking very strong.
It's a staff that can really recruit, NIL or not. They've done a really good job of stocking the shelves with high schoolers. It's just a matter of developing them and keeping them around for the long haul. Preston, I don't want to alarm you, but I will not be here next Friday, so you will be speaking with a coach. Wow. I know you're comfortable in that role, but I just wanted to prepare you 7 days out.
Look, Hunt. At this point, it's just I'm used to it, man. You're not a Friday worker like the rest of us. Me and Musa, we handle it down on Fridays. We're the guys. We're not walking out early on the weekend. We're here to work.
I wish I could tell you I'd be listening, but I will not be listening next Friday. I will be on the golf course, and that's where I want to be. So that's where we'll be. But we'll talk in a couple of weeks. Thanks, Preston.
All right, Hunt. See you soon.
Preston Guy, TigerBait.com. All your LSU football coverage, they got you covered over there. TigerBait.com presses with us every single Friday. All right, when we come back, let's talk about what happened in the SEC last night and what is to come today, because a lot of it does very much affect LSU directly. So we'll do that when we come back.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com is that website. Every car that's on the lot is online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com. Sedan all the way to SUV, entry level all the way up to the highest end. All of those vehicles come with the same baseline safety features, and the entire line was given the IIHA top safety picks. Some of them were top safety picks plus. You know when you get behind the wheel of a Genesis that you're driving one of the safest cars on the road. You can get behind the wheel and feel the comfort. You can see all the incredible technology. The brand ambassadors can help you out with all the bells and whistles that come with those incredible vehicles. But you don't know until someone else tests it just how safe that vehicle is, and I can promise you it is among the safest on the road. That's a big, big deal as folks are shopping for vehicles. That's a big, big deal for you. Make sure Genesis is on your list. Go by and see them. Airline at Pico. It's across from Women's Hospital. If you're in the market for a vehicle in Baton Rouge, you're probably on Airline Highway. How about one more stop? One stop that you may not have made in a previous purchase. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge, and you can find them online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com, GenesisofBatonRouge.com.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you. At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
At Atmos Energy, our Smart Choice solutions help customers save energy and emissions with rebates up to $500 off high-efficiency natural gas appliances, smart thermostats, and weatherization upgrades. Together, we're fueling our energy future.
At Sunshine, we know what you see when you look at your land. Where others may see dirt, you see the foundation you've built your life on. It's hallowed ground. It's past, present, and future. We're proud to provide quality John Deere equipment to help you maintain the land you love. Check out our current promotions And learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Men, age is just a number. Don't let it dictate how you feel. Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness has anti-aging services that can help you look and feel your best. Visit yourgoodwood.com and discover a renewed sense of vitality.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
These are the luckiest ice cubes in the world. They could have been a thankless bed for an all-you-can-eat salad bar. But instead, they've been called upon to cradle and cool a crisp, refreshing Dos Equis. Looks like the lucky just got luckier.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
Friday shows brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp. Got a hankering for a po' boy? No better spot in Baton Rouge than Corks. Get you one of those big overstuffed jumbo shrimp po' boys. Fantastic stuff over there at Corks. Shout out to the family over there at Corks. Of course, that's Paul and Michael Medinka. Started their restaurant touring here in Baton Rouge over across the river at Kuyon's, which was featured earlier this week on Diners, Drive-Ins, and Dives. So great stuff for the Medinka fam. They've been a great partner of ours here on the Hunt Palmer Show, bringing you Friday shows for over 2 years now. So check them out online, corksfishandshrimp.com. All right, just such a busy and eventful day in the SEC. Yesterday, I want to run through that briefly. We'll get back to LSU, and Koki Riley will join us from Columbia coming up in 25 minutes or so, straight up 2 o'clock. Texas A&M busted out to a quick start in Athens. They were up 3-0 in the top of the first inning, but 7 spot from Georgia came pretty quickly in the third. Dogs were hitting bombs all over the place. Robbie Burnett hit his 20th home run of the season, and Georgia beat Texas A&M 10-6. Also in that game, Caden Sorrell, who hit the big home run off LSU, off of Zach Cowan to win Game 3, got hit in the hand and was immediately taken out of the game. It didn't look like he could flex it, so I'm not a doctor and I'm not going to speculate on what injury might be, but A&M's toast. I would be stunned if they won the next 2 games, and I'd be even more stunned if they got into the field of 64. They're 10-18 in the league right now. Georgia, on the other hand, is holding on to that top spot in the RPI. They now have 17 league wins. That brings them even with LSU. So Georgia very, very much in the mix for a top 8 national seed. They win last night behind a solid pitching effort out of the bullpen from JT Quinn, who took over for the starter Charlie Goldstein, who couldn't get out of the first inning. So Georgia beats Texas A&M. Really dramatic game in Gainesville. A big 3-run homer from Justin LeBron puts Alabama ahead, and then Florida comes back and wins it in the 9th inning. That helps LSU. Theoretically, Alabama is 2 games behind LSU in the league standings, 1 spot behind LSU in the RPI entering yesterday. So Florida, who's fighting, scrapping, and clawing, and might host a regional after starting 1-11. But they are now 14-14, so that means some quick math there. They have gone 13-3 in their last 16 league games. Sensational stuff down there in Gainesville. So they win Game 1 7-6. LSU, I think, comfortably right now ahead of Alabama for a national seed spot. I'd be just fine if Florida went ahead and finished that deal this weekend. Missouri got back to their old tricks last night. If you missed this, of course, Missouri went and swept A&M, so they come home. They're going to stay hot? No. They gave up 25 runs last night. 25 runs. Mississippi State put on Missouri. Mississippi State now 13-15. I think they're in the NCAA tournament. They need to probably win one more to feel good about it, but I think they're in even without a head coach. So Mississippi State scores 25 runs on 23 hits last night. Incredible ball game in Nashville that was really disappointing to me. Vanderbilt was one game behind LSU entering the day yesterday. Vanderbilt was down to their final out and down 2 runs last night and hit a walk-off 3-run home run against Kentucky. Wildcats may need one more win to get into the field. Vanderbilt's trying to get a national seed. They've got a better RPI than LSU. They did not play Missouri. They've got a stronger strength of schedule than LSU. They've got more quad 1 wins than LSU. And now they've drawn even in the conference standings. So need Kentucky to show up at some point this weekend. Thought they had that one last night, but they lose with a 3-run homer in the 9th inning. Speaking of home runs, Texas got a big one late in the game from Max Ballou, who has not played in a month. He was last year's Big 12 Player of the Year. He got hurt this year, was taking some BP a couple of weeks ago, is now back to being able to hit. He had a big home run last night, and Texas wins the game. I believe that Kyson Witherspoon pitched last night. I'm 98% sure he did pitch. I'm going to look up the box score right now, but if Texas did beat Kyson Witherspoon in Norman, which they did, Witherspoon threw 6 1/3 and only gave up 2 earned runs, struck out 8. But the bullpen could not hold it. Texas scores 3 off of the bullpen in the final 2 2/3 innings to beat Oklahoma. So Texas has won the SEC. They've got 21 league wins. They can roll over the rest of the weekend in Norman and in Hoover. Their work is completely done as far as the top 8 seed goes, but good for them to get off the mat after losing 5 of their last 6 SEC games. And then Ole Miss, really strong performance last night by Hunter Elliott, who kind of looked like his old self. He's had a lot of control issues this year, has not thrown the ball over the plate enough, so he hadn't gone deep into games. He was great last night, and he completely handcuffed Auburn, who did not score until the 9th inning. Ole Miss beat him 9-2. In that game, Elliott goes 7 shutout with 8 strikeouts. So Auburn still now 1 game behind LSU in the conference standings. They're ahead of LSU in the RPI. They have a better strength of schedule. They have those metrics favor them. So does quad 1 wins. But LSU's got a lead in the series, of course, in the conference. Auburn swept LSU, which is another data point we've got to keep in mind as well. So it was good for LSU that Ole Miss won. If Ole Miss wants to go ahead and take care of business in that one, that'd be fine by me. Rebs are trying to get a host spot, so they got a lot to play for in Oxford. And then a lot of fireworks, a lot of home runs, a lot of offense in the game last night, Tennessee and Arkansas. Tennessee comes out on top. They scored 10 runs on 15 hits in that game to beat Arkansas at Baum Walker. Just a really, really nice performance by Tennessee all around. And the best news for Tennessee is they won that game behind Marcus Phillips and A.J. Russell, basically. Nate Snead did come in, but they win the game that Zach Root pitched for Arkansas, and now Tennessee gets to throw Liam Doyle tonight. And that's obviously good news for Tennessee. They're really tough to beat when he's on the mound. So Tennessee is a game behind LSU. They're 16-12. Arkansas is a game ahead of LSU. I don't know how much conference standings are going to play into this thing because you're talking about an unbalanced schedule where everybody misses 4 teams. So what 4 teams did you miss and what 4 teams did you miss? Like if they're really going to take that into account, like that's a big feather in Vanderbilt's cap because Vanderbilt is the only team in the SEC that did not play Missouri and did not play South Carolina. LSU gets them both. So that's why Vanderbilt's strength of schedule is so good. That's why their RPI is so good. You look at the conference standings, and I think it can perhaps tell like a kind of a flawed story based on what your strength of schedule is in league play. So LSU just needs to take care of their business. Right now you're sitting on 17 wins, but there are still a lot of teams that are looking at you that are jumbled up together. It's that group of Auburn and Georgia and Vanderbilt and Arkansas and Alabama and LSU and Tennessee. Like they're all kind of jumbled up. And I was looking at the RPI this morning. Good news for LSU, you only dropped 1 spot. LSU's RPI, even after losing that game to a bad South Carolina team, is still okay. LSU's RPI is 8 right now. But you are in that metric behind Arkansas, behind Vanderbilt, behind Auburn, and behind Georgia. And I believe all of those teams have as many or more quad wins than you, except Georgia, who's 11-10. But Georgia's RPI is 1. So that's a tough hurdle to climb. The feather in LSU's cap here is absolutely and positively the conference standing. Because you've got 17 wins and you're playing South Carolina, you've got a real chance to get to 19. It's going to be hard for Georgia to get to 19. They got to win the last 2 games. Auburn can't get to 19. Vanderbilt's going to have to win the last 2 games to get to 19. Arkansas is still on 18. Bama can't get to 19. The 19 league wins is a metric, is one that LSU can have in its favor. Despite the fact that you played Missouri and South Carolina, it's still a number that they're going to get on their sheet. So it's still, LSU's still in a good spot. They really are in a good spot from a resume perspective, but you have to win these last 2 games. If you only win one, you are leaving that door wide, wide, wide open. So we'll see. There's one more thing that I want to talk about in terms of resume talk that was impactful yesterday, and it's a weird thing that could change day to day, and it did change yesterday. And this is the nerd in me coming out. So this may not be for everybody, but this is something that I'm going to cover on my show. Oregon State is a weird resume for a top 8. And they're a team that could steal one. Their RPI is 6. That is 2 spots better than LSU. But their RPI is inflated a little bit because they played so many road games. The other piece, their resume entering yesterday was terrible from a quad 1 perspective. They only had 5 quad 1 wins. That's LSU has 12. Auburn's got 14. Vanderbilt's got 15. So 5 is really poor. And I pulled up the RPI stuff today, and I went, wait a second, Oregon State's now got 8 quad 1 wins. How did that happen? They didn't play 3 games last night. Well, that means one of their opponents moved into quad 1, and it's Hawaii. Oregon State's got 3 wins over Hawaii, and Hawaii moved into the top 60, and Oregon State played them on the island. So now the nerd in me is going to be monitoring Hawaii's RPI to look at how that impacts Oregon State and their quad 1 wins compared to LSU. I said this last week, it's maybe the most nerdy thing about me. Now, there's plenty of things to pick from, but the fact that I can grind Oregon State's road scheduling habits and how it impacts their RPI and their top 60 wins is not a redeeming social quality that I have. But I have it nonetheless, so you've got it too. It was a noteworthy movement because my big statement against Oregon State is that they didn't have any quad 1 wins, that they stepped out and played Oregon 4 games and got swept, and now they've got 3 more to add to the cause. So I need Hawaii to lose some games. I'm trying desperately to get LSU a top 8 national seed because y'all have watched. Have you watched LSU play at home? Have you watched LSU play on the road? Do you understand where they need to play these regional and super regional games? It needs to be at the box. And if I got to pull against Oregon State's opponents to get LSU there, well, then that's a cross I'm willing to bear at this point. So LSU right now is still in fine shape. LSU is okay, but you're playing with fire, and I think everyone's well aware with that. So there's still a lot to talk about. I want to come back and kind of preview tonight's game. We'll talk to Koki Riley at 2 o'clock. Still got some Saints to do in the second hour. Get you some scores from the PGA Championship as well. It's a Friday edition. We're brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
ED, low T, or simply seeking to optimize your health and performance? Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness offers a range of discreet services to address your specific needs. We empower men to reclaim their health and confidence. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
When you can't rely on technology, you can rely on Mountain Cold Refreshment. Dave's back on. Coors Light. Choose chill.
You gotta believe in a dream. Believe. You gotta believe in a dream. Believe. You gotta believe. My whole team on wild.
At Bayou Automotive, we believe in a sales process that puts you first. We want you to experience an easy purchase with clear pricing and great service. Let Bayou Ford and Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram be your trusted partners in finding your perfect vehicle. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
At Luba Workers' Comp, our journey began over 30 years ago with a simple belief. Our clients come first.
At Luba, our business has always been focused on people, not policies.
Through every success and challenge, we've continued to grow because we've stayed true to our values, committed to providing you with genuine dependability.
Because your well-being is more than a priority. It's our purpose.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one: you. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
All right, closing up hour number one here. LSU in South Carolina tonight. We'll talk to Cookie Riley from Columbia in 13 minutes. This is very difficult to do, I know. But let's try for the sake of the exercise. Let's try this. Just completely block last night out. Just completely disregard it. And let's just focus on the Friday night game solely. Don't think about Saturday. Don't think about Thursday. Just Friday. Here's what you got today. South Carolina is starting Jake McCoy. He's the only pitcher on their staff who's made 9 SEC starts. In his SEC outings, his ERA is 7.75. SEC opponents hit .313 off of him. He's allowed 10 home runs in 9 starts. The best relief arm that they have is Ashton Crowther, who pitched yesterday. He's unavailable. The second best ERA they have is Parker Marlott, who has a 5.4 SEC ERA. And they used Matthew Becker last night. They don't have anybody else available whose ERA is under 7.5 for tonight. Not a single pitcher on the roster. Not like, oh, this guy's only pitched twice and his ERA is 1.1, but they don't even use him. Like, no one on the stat sheet is under 7.5. LSU is pitching Cade Anderson tonight. Kason Evans is ready to go. Maverick Rizzi is ready to go. I don't know what the issue is and why LSU has not even used. It's crazy. They haven't used him in 3 weeks. Now I can't even remember his name. Dallas Babbage transfer right-handed. Beck, help me out here. LSU bullpen arm. He's from Dallas. Connor Bench. It just wouldn't come. LSU has those guys ready to go behind Cade Anderson tonight. Like, this is, like last night, a mismatch. Trust me, I listened to myself talk yesterday. I heard it. But if you just, and I said South Carolina's terrible and LSU ought to score a ton of runs, and none of it happened. I get it. It's baseball. Weird stuff happens. Would it stun me if LSU lost tonight? No. But if you just look at this game on paper and realize that last night's over, it's a pretty good spot to be in if you're LSU. They've just got to play a good baseball game. You can't walk 6 guys in the first 2 innings. You can't get thrown out at third twice. You can't throw a wild pitch to end the game. I didn't even talk about that in my first segment. Really nothing that Kate Arambidi could do or Luis Hernandez could do. Cowan just hooked a breaking ball, just spiked it in the other batter's box. But South Carolina has, I can make a case that Austin Crowther is a decent arm. His SEC ERA is 2.2 in 16 and a third innings, and he's the one that started yesterday. And Brandon Stone has been a starter for them in SEC play. He's started 7 times. Now, his SEC ERA is 8.4, so he's not any good. But, like, those are 2 of their most trusted arms. McCoy is the third. His numbers are atrocious. And nobody that they can go to in the bullpen outside of Parker Marlatt, whose ERA is 5.4, has an SEC ERA under 7.5. Nobody. And LSU is throwing potentially a top 10 pick in the draft. So I understand fully all the LSU fans who have an incredibly sour taste in their mouth over last night. I do too. It was awful. Awful. But if you just boil the game down to today, what are they doing today? It's a very advantageous spot. And if you go out there today and Cade Anderson goes 7 innings and Kason Evans goes 2 and you win the game, you've got the guy pitching as well as anybody in the country going in Saturday's game. Now, here's my recommendation to LSU. I don't know if they're listening. I don't know if they care, but here's my recommendation. In one of the next 2 games, you need to score 13 runs. In one of the next 2. You don't have to do it both games. You can win one of them 7-4. But in one of the games, you need to take the pressure off the pitching staff, off the bullpen, off the late innings, and just crush them. If you don't do that, you are playing with fire based on your bullpen depth. I will say this exact same thing in 2 weeks when we're getting ready from a regional at this point. I'll say the same thing. In one of the regional games, it can be the first game against the 4 seed. It can be the Saturday night game against the bottom end of some number 2 team's bullpen. You need to blow the doors off somebody. They've done that some at home. They did it to Arkansas at home. They did it to Tennessee at home. They're not doing it on the road, and I don't have an answer for that. Arkansas and Tennessee are not appreciably worse than Auburn or Texas A&M. They got to find some way, somehow, to get it done on the road offensively to just beat the brakes off somebody so that you don't have to use your high leverage arms multiple times and you can coast to the finish line at some point. That's the best way to win a weekend. You've already used your best bullpen guy in a loss, which really stings. He can probably come back on Sunday for 5 or 6 outs. But he's not pitching tonight. You got Evans ready to go, so you're covered from that perspective. And I think Evans is good for 40 pitches tonight. I know that he threw a lot on Sunday. It is Friday. That's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday off. It's 4 days. But the offense has to break out. Because if you try to walk a high wire and win the next 2 days 6-4, like, you're going to ask some guys who haven't been great for the entirety of the season to be great in big spots. And that's an easy way to let it slip through the cracks. South Carolina doesn't have that issue. Everybody they put out there has atrocious numbers and doesn't throw hard. Everybody. They don't have any other options. LSU has layers to their bullpen. You can't use the top layer all weekend. So the best way to make life easier on the lower layers, hit the baseball. And that's what they have to do. Jake McCoy again, batting average against an SEC play, 313. 10 homers in 9 starts. Hit the ball out of the yard, score 13 runs, put this team away. Easy for the overweight radio guy to sit here and say that. A little bit harder to go put into practice, but those guys have it in them. I've watched it with my own eyes. It's got to show up one of the next 2 days. You can ride Anderson or Ianson for one of the games and win a close one. The other one needs to come from the bats. Wrapping things up here, hour number 1 of a Friday show brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Check out the menu, corksfishandshrimp.com. Great po' boys, awesome catfish platters, jumbo Gulf shrimp as well. Try their baked potatoes, covered with crawfish etouffee and those big jumbo shrimp. Awesome, awesome stuff. They're on government between Foster and Jefferson. It's corksfishandshrimp.com. Missed any of the first hour, a lot of baseball talk, a little LSU football as well. You can catch it on demand wherever you find your sound. Search Hunt Palmer Show and subscribe. We certainly appreciate it. We will pause for SportsCenter, get you caught up on the nation's headlines. When we come back, Koki Riley from Columbia, South Carolina. Close things out on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance, HighlandInsurance.com. I give you this story every couple of shows where I went and I was talking to them about some of the reasons they get clients and retain clients over at the Highland Insurance Group. And they had a prospective client who had 5 locations, had a general liability policy that had all 5 locations on it for a $1 million limit. They were able to take that policy and put $1 million on all 5 locations, so $5 million in coverage, and keep the premium basically flat. That's the kind of difference they can make for you. They are technically expertise. If all you've ever done with your insurance renewal as a business owner is just look at the premium line and sign on the dotted line, maybe a second set of eyeballs is best, because you want to make sure that your insurance policy responds properly when you've got that big issue that you were not expecting. Could be a storm, could be a car accident, could be a lawsuit. Make sure your insurance is properly written. The Highland Insurance Group can do that for you. Check them out online, highlandig.com, highlandig.com.
At Sunshine, we know what you see when you look at your land. Where others may see dirt, you see the foundation you've built your life on. This, it's hallowed ground. It's past, present, and future. We're proud to provide quality John Deere equipment to help you maintain the land you love. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
When it comes to choosing energy for your family and your home, make the smart choice with natural gas. You can count on efficient and affordable natural gas to keep you comfortable and reduce your environmental impact to help protect our planet. Together, we're fueling our energy future. Atmos Energy.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Men, age is just a number. Don't let it dictate how you feel. Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness has anti-aging services that can help you look and feel your best. Visit yourgoodwood.com and discover a renewed sense of vitality.
These are the luckiest ice cubes in the world. They could have been a thankless bed for an all-you-can-eat salad bar. But instead, they've been called upon to cradle and cool a crisp, refreshing Dos Equis. Huh. Looks like the lucky just got luckier. Dos Equis.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
At Luba Workers' Comp, our journey began over 30 years ago with a simple belief: our clients come first.
At Luba.
This is SportsCenter.
It's day 2 of the PGA Championship. I'm Chris Smith. On ESPN, Jonathan Vegas remains atop the leaderboard at 8 under after the Venezuelan carded a 70 in round 2. Matthew Pavon is 2 strokes back after shooting a 6 under 65 on Friday, while European Ryder Cup team captain Luke Donald is among 4 players tied for 4th at 5 under. And it's a crucial Game 6 at Madison Square Garden, and ESPN New York host Alan Hahn says the Knicks will respond after dropping Game 5 when they had an opportunity to close out their series with the Celts.
The only time they've ever closed out immediately was 2 years ago in Cleveland, Game 5. They put that series to rest. After that, they've always lost one, then they'll win one. Against Indiana last year, they lost the last 2 games of that series. Against Detroit, same situation. They went on the road, they went home, they lost. They had to go on the road to get a win. This now flips the script. Now they come home, Madison Square Garden, Friday night. And when I said last week that was a game of the century game,
Yeah, no, this one.
Never mind. This is now the game of the century.
Coverage begins 7:30 Eastern on ESPN Radio, 8 Eastern on ESPN. And to force a Game 7, the Maple Leafs will have to win in Florida without starting goaltender Anthony Stolarz.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Candy, coming on Monday. So much going on in the world of sports, NBA and NHL playoffs, plus the PGA Championship. And I'll react to it all in my upon further review at 7 a.m. Eastern. It's on Sportsmanlike weekday mornings at 6, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Waiting to rise again.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the moment you've all been waiting for.
Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
One hour to go in this work week for us here at the Hunt Palmer Show. Hopefully your work week is in the rear view mirror. If it's not, we will get you to the finish line here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Friday shows brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp. A lot to cover in the next hour. Should the Saints look into trading Chris Olave? And is there a suitor that's making overtures towards the Saints in that respect? We'll talk about it coming up in the next segment. For now, let's go to Columbia, South Carolina. That's where we find Koki Riley, LSU beat reporter for The Advocate. Joins us on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Koki, how are you?
Doing well. How's it going?
It's going all right. It'd been better if they close out a 2-run lead in the 8th inning, but that was not to be last night. You got a chance to chat with Jay Johnson after the game. I'm sure that was probably a fairly brief conversation, but what were the vibes with LSU after that one went awry last night?
Disappointment, frustration. I've been around them for it when the vibes were worse. What comes to mind especially is after the Arkansas series and the Tennessee series last year on the road where they got swept in both, and the vibes are really, really down, especially after the Tennessee series. Man, it was about as dark as it gets. But, it was like, I think it was just like, I won't say it was shock, but it was definitely like disappointment and, just wanting to move on to the next day.
I read your gamer in The Advocate last night before I went to bed, and I know that you asked Jay about the 2 runners that were thrown out in the 5th inning at third base. What was kind of his look at that from the dugout?
Yeah, with the Braswell play, he thought that obviously Braswell misread the play, and he thought the ball was hit too hard for him to try to go from first to third with nobody out in that situation. If it was 1 out, I think you could have maybe made the argument for him to go there, at least try to make the guy make a play. There's advantages of having a runner on third with 1 out, as Jay has said, and as which is just also true. With nobody out, and the fact that like Braswell just blew off Coach Jordan's sign, which I could see that in real time. That's where that sort of issue in that play happened. Then with the Curiel play, it was definitely different where they wanted him to get the third base. He was running on the pitch. It was a 3-2 count. And Jared hits the ball pretty hard to left field, which was maybe the slightly unfortunate bit of it. He hits to the right, and he's easily in at third. But anyway, he hits the ball in left field, and I think Curiel made the right decision to go to third base, and he might have actually been safe if he had just slid. But him not sliding is something that's a mystery to me and a mystery to Jay, to be quite frank about it. So, it was the last one was really bizarre. Like, why didn't he slide? I have no idea why he didn't slide. I don't think anyone really knows why he didn't slide. But yeah, like just two, like one was a really bad read and a really bad mechanical decision from a mechanical error from Braswell in terms of just not looking up at the third base coach as he's rounding second base. That's just a general rule of thumb that you learn in high school. And then with Curiel, it's just deciding not to slide there, which I don't know. I just don't know.
What should the level of concern be with Zach Cowan right now?
Higher than it was after the A&M series, but I don't know. It's hard to it's definitely on my radar more than it was 2 weeks ago. And the bizarre part about it is that in between we have a really good outing against Arkansas, where he was fine, more than fine. I might have given him one hit in that outing, but he definitely looked a lot better than he did last night, where I thought that was easily his worst performance of the season. He was just getting hit around silly. That can happen when you don't have the most explosive stuff and you're not, commanding your pitches to the best of your ability. But yeah, that was very, very concerning. And it seemed like South Carolina, similar to Texas A&M, had a lot of trouble with LSU's big stuff guys, maybe not a lot of trouble, but at least more trouble with those guys, and swinging and missing and whatnot, than a pitcher like Cowan, who is just much more about finesse and is literally a change of speeds. So, sometimes that mostly that's worked in their favor this year, but it didn't work in their favor last night.
Sure did not. I thought Jaden Newt and Chase Shores were both very, very good. What did you see from them, and what do you see as their role moving forward?
I thought Shores was a little bit shaky, just not quite as sharp as he looked against Arkansas. He got the job done. Josh Pearson helped him out quite a bit with that diving catch, right? But Jaden Newt was fantastic. I thought especially for that 4-inning stretch, he comes in with the base load and nobody out. He only allows one inherent runner to score. Retires 12 straight batters at one point. He was just fantastic, and he did get hit around more the second time through. And I wonder if he's just a first time through the order guy right now for them. But if you can get 9 outs and be good against most teams in the SEC, and that means you're going to be a big weapon, for 2 or 3 innings when you get to a regional or even a super regional, and that's huge for this team. They don't really have that outside. They haven't really had that outside of Evans and Cowan this year. And if he could, I'm not saying he's going to retire 12 straight. And most of these teams they're going to face are going to be better than South Carolina. No offense to South Carolina, but he also looked pretty good last weekend, and he's looked pretty solid in SEC play in general. So I was almost surprised they didn't pitch him more last week. But I think he's quickly turning into one of their 2 or 3 best relievers right now.
I completely agree. And I also, in the same vein, talked about Connor Ware in my opening. I said he's basically out of runway. There's no time to step up now. It just never really happened. And we may see him again, but I don't think that they can truly trust him. That's just my take. What's your take on that matter?
Yeah, I think I agree with you completely. And it's all about the command, right? He's just not throwing enough strikes. And when he's locating that high rising fastball at the top of the zone, it just has to be close enough to the zone, but he's not throwing it close enough to the zone. He has way too many bad misses. And when you're missing that badly all the time, it's just much harder for you to be effective, and to play to your strengths. So that's kind of where he's at the moment, and it's kind of bizarre to watch. This is a guy who threw 4 no-hit innings against EBU, which is a team that might host a regional. So it's kind of bizarre, honestly. And they've had a decent amount of success stories on the mound this season, but like that, this is one where it's definitely gone sideways on them in kind of a hurry.
No question about that. Cade Anderson tonight, and then you figure Kason Evans probably available. What's your best guess on Kason Evans, being that he did start the game on Sunday and extend a little bit? What do you think? Is he available tonight, or is that more of a tomorrow thing?
I mean, if they're smart and safe about it. But so I think the Anderson decision kind of informs the Evans decision in a way, right? Because like they didn't want to stretch Anderson, pitch him on a day's less rest on Thursday. So like, why would they do that with Evans? Where he pitched, we threw like 80 plus pitches on Sunday. Sure, he's probably available to throw Saturday and give him something. Just so he's not sitting for 2 weeks. Okay. But why use them on Friday if you don't need to? Maybe if they're like in a one-run game tonight, they could do it. But like, I doubt it. I think that's the best way I'd put it. I just kind of doubt it.
What did you make of the offense yesterday? I could go a lot of different ways, but I'll leave it open-ended to you. How did you feel they played offensively?
I kind of agree with you where there's like a whole bunch of different ways to go about it. I think there were some at-bats that were like pretty ugly and definitely, there was definitely a point in the game where I was like, oh, this is the typical, not typical, but this has been when LSU's struggling in offense, it looks like this, but then they also had 11 hits. They also scorched the ball a whole bunch of other times that didn't fall in for hits. They kind of got unlucky a bit last night just on that. And, like when they score 5 runs, they win the game, right? They were 34-1 going into last night when they scored at least 5 runs. So all those things considered, I thought it was like an okay performance. I think if this team had a much better pitching staff, I would have said it was a fine performance and maybe even a good one. But you want to be able to hit the ball more. You want to be able to hit the ball more against this sort of pitching staff, though. I mean, this is probably the worst. This is the worst pitching staff in the league outside of Missouri. So you want to put up crooked numbers. I mean, last night they threw their best pitchers, but even then, I think you want to be able to put up at least 8 runs in that game. And I think they would have if they just didn't run into those outs in the 5th inning. Honestly.
Yeah, I mean, they could have easily scored 4 or 5 runs in that inning if they don't run themselves right on out of it. There's no question about it. So I shot you text last night, but just for the audience, like, what's the environment like, and what do you expect over the next 2 days?
The environment last night was kind of tough. Tough in the sense that there's not a lot of South Carolina fans there. Yeah. I mean, like they're playing Sandstorm and after pitching changes and stuff, and like it's just like. You can see there's really not a lot of towels being thrown up there. I don't know. It looks like a bad environment. It looks like a sparse environment. It is a sparse environment, and it's not your typical SEC road environment. So like if anyone tries to make the argument that they're on the road in a tough environment in Founders Park, that was not the case. Like this is probably a worse environment than the Oklahoma environment was. The Oklahoma environment wasn't that great because A, it was freezing, and B, like they have a much smaller stadium. Like the stadium is bigger. It's warm out there, but it's not unbearable to watch baseball in, and yet no one's there because the team's 6-22 in SEC play.
Does your gut tell you they win the last 2, or they drop another one?
I think they win the last 2. They just have such a massive pitching advantage to go along with a general talent advantage that I have trouble seeing them losing these next 2 games. I mean, if they were going to lose a game, it was definitely going to be last night because of the pitching stuff. And like South Carolina was going to throw their better arms. LSU, was not going to push it with Anderson and Ianson. So now that that the pitching scales turn completely towards LSU's way, I imagine that they're going to win the next 2 games. But heck, it's baseball. You never know.
Sure don't. You can follow Koki. He'll be there for the rest of the weekend. You can read his stuff in The Advocate as well. Koki, we appreciate the time. We'll catch up to you in Hoover.
Awesome. Thank you.
He is Koki Riley with The Advocate joining us from Columbia. All right, we'll step aside. Let's talk some Saints. Should they trade Chris Olave? I got thoughts next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. Look, closet space is something that I certainly never thought about, but then my wife moved into the house and she looks around and goes, where am I supposed to put all my stuff? And we didn't have room in our first house. So we had stuff in one bedroom. We had stuff in the hall closet. We had stuff up in the attic. Like it was a bad scene. And we changed that by moving. But you don't have to move to improve your closet situation. If you're not happy and you got suitcases jammed in somewhere and not enough room for your sport coats or not enough room for all the shoes, well, fix it. David Duvall and his team are happy to come in and customize a closet to your exact specifications. It just starts with a questionnaire. You fill it out, and they start to design, and I can promise you this, they'll do it right the first time and leave the competition behind at One Bath and Closets. They've got financing options available, 0% up to 18 months. That's the same as cash. And he can do it exactly for you. It's One Bath and Closets. Contact David Duvall and his team at OneBathAndClosets.com. OneBathAndClosets.com.
At Ochsner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Ochsner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Baton Rouge is home for real rock. It's Eagle 98.1. Foo Fighters. Led Zeppelin. AC/DC. Pearl Jam. And the flagship home for LSU sports. Take us anywhere with the Eagle 98.1 app. Eagle 98.1 is the rock station.
At Sunshine, we know what you see when you look at your land. Where others may see dirt, you see the foundation you've built your life on. This, it's hallowed ground. It's past, present, and future. We're proud to provide quality John Deere equipment to help you maintain the land you love. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
ED, low T, or simply seeking to optimize your health and performance? Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness offers a range of discreet services to address your specific needs. We empower men to reclaim their health and confidence. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
These ice cubes could have been a thankless bed for an all-you-can-eat salad bar. But instead, they cradle and cool the crisp, refreshing Dos Equis. Nicely done, ice cubes.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
Chugging along, Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. LSU in South Carolina tonight at 6 o'clock. If you want to listen to it, you can find it on our sister station, Eagle 98.1. Pregame at 5:30. Chris Blair and Bill Franquez will be on the call from Founders Park. Tigers got to have it. Kate Anderson will be on the mound. Been talking about it a lot over the last hour and 18 minutes. So let's shift things over to the black and gold. There are some reports, or I guess I should say basically one report, coming out of the Steel City. That would be Pittsburgh. that the Steelers are checking in on Chris Olave and his availability via trade. Adam Crowley is a host on 93.7 The Fan up in Pittsburgh, and he sent that tweet out. And right now, the Saints are in a position that they have not been in 2 decades. You're at the bottom of a rebuild. You've got a brand new coach. You've drafted a quarterback. And you don't really have high expectations for this coming season. And while the Saints would not tell you that in a press conference, I do believe that many realize that, okay? And so you're now in a position that you have not been in a long time to do some things that you have not done, really this regime has not done. And that started a little bit last year when you traded Marshawn Lattimore, and I thought that was absolutely the right thing to do. Aging corner, but an asset you can recoup something with. And they were able to score a draft pick for him, and I was all for that. And I still believe that you should be listening to opportunities to increase your assets to get younger and cheaper. That's the chorus that we sing all the time when we're talking about the Saints. Got to get younger and cheaper. And so should the Saints trade Chris Olave essentially for draft picks? And as is always the case when you talk about trades, like, the answer lies in what the return is. If you tell me that you can recoup 2 second-round picks for Chris Olave, well, yeah, I'm listening. I'm all ears. You tell me, yeah, we'll give you a 6th for him, like, wait a second. And that's very likely what the conversation kind of starts with, right? So my answer to this is, barring some completely unforeseen offer from Pittsburgh, which that organization is not really in the business of making unfounded moves. It's a pretty solid organization. No, you don't trade Chris Olave. Chris Olave is 24 years old, about to play his year 25 season. When he's healthy, Chris Olave has put together back-to-back 1,000-yard receiving years with suboptimal quarterback play. You're talking about the Jameis Winston, Andy Dalton year and half a Derek Carr. So I'm not in a hurry to move a 25-year-old, 1,000-yard receiver who's right now on a rookie deal, who's not going to break the bank when it comes time to sign a contract extension. The Saints are bad at wide receiver relative to the rest of the league. They just are. You look at the rest of the league and you stack Chris Olave as a 1, Rashid Shaheed is a 2, older, slower Rashid Shaheed, a.k.a. Brandon Hooks, is a 3, and then whatever else is beyond that. Like, that's relative to the rest of the NFL, that's bad. I'm not in a hurry to move the best piece of the bad position to go get draft picks. I'm all for draft picks. I like draft picks. Mickey Loomis doesn't use enough draft picks. We all know this. But Olave is one of the guys you can build around. I talk about this all the time when I'm talking about Saints players. Is he going to be on the next really good Saints team? And Chris Olave very much could. DeMario Davis is not. In my opinion, Alvin Kamara is not. Tyrann Mathieu is not. But some pieces like Eric McCoy, like Taliesin Fuaga, like Chris Olave, like Brian Brzee, those guys can be. Alontae Taylor, Kool-Aid McKinstry. And Olave is part of that mix. Hopefully Tyler Shook's on that team. But I'm not in a hurry to just sell off all the assets. This is not a Florida Marlins 1998 fire sale here. This is, okay, I've got an aging asset, not going to be worth it for me, move him. Chris Olave is a good player. Now, you could convince me that the Saints are very, very concerned about his health, that he's expressed to them that there may be some issues. Like, if that's the case, and there are things that I don't know that are not public knowledge, well, that changes the conversation, but I don't have that information. If I just go off of the production on the field and the statistics, Chris Olave is a guy I'd like to stick around for 4 or 5 more years. I don't feel that way about some of those aging players that I just rattled off. So, while I'm willing to listen to every offer at this point, the Saints are in a position, if anybody makes a phone call that is willing to give draft picks and more availability to young, cheap players, the Saints have to pick up the phone. But if it's, I really like Chris Olave to come be our number 2 wide receiver, here's a 6th rounder next year, click. That's no good for me. That's a guy that could be in the future plans for the next good Saints team. We do have to worry about the injury stuff, but right now it appears he's healthy and good to go. So I'm not in a hurry to move on from him. You need some guys at wide receiver. You're probably going to go into free agency for one or two more. Probably going to need to draft one next year. And I don't think Chris Olave is necessarily an NFL 1. He doesn't scream number 1 receiver. He is a very, very productive NFL wide receiver that is an above average 2. He's one of those guys. He's a below average 1, above average 2. You'd like to plug in another guy with him, but I'm not in a hurry to part with him just because the Saints are in a rebuild and it's a fire sale. That's not the case in New Orleans right now. So no pressing news at this point, just an internet rumor that has buzzed up. And again, listen, but I'm going to need significant return if I'm going to part with a 24, 25-year-old wide receiver who is shown he's an 1,000-yard guy. My 2 cents on Chris Olave with the Saints. Jordan Kitchens, you got your black and gold hat on. The Steelers pick up the phone and say, "Hey, we'll give you a third rounder for Chris Olave." How you feel about that?
I might fart on the phone.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, the problem I have with Hunt is that the position's already weak. All right.
Yes,
so
it's weak.
You remove Olave, you're looking at Rashid Shaheed, who does have injury history.
He does.
Brandon Cooks,
who's old as dirt.
Bub Carrington. Yeah, that doesn't really scream, about, even if we are in a rebuild, you do have two young quarterbacks that you kind of want to give them something to work with. Yeah. So you remove your best piece receiver-wise, that's a huge problem. And then I'll say this. You just picked up his 5th-year option. So why move him if you picked up his 5th-year option? That means you kind of you see a future with him. You should have just traded him, but not pick that up and just got rid of him at that point.
I'm with you. I think that's a guy you got to build around. Beck, you have any thoughts on a Chris Olave departure if you're going to get some draft picks for it?
No, it's not worth what you're going to get back for him. He provides. Look, I mean, at the end of the day, we're not talking about keeping Chris Olave because we think the Saints have a chance of being a playoff team within the next 2 years. But at the same time, you gotta keep guys like Chris Olave on the team because he's one that is going to be important. Like the fans like him. Like I'm not trying to say they're trying to sell tickets, but at the same time, like you can't just make a team devoid of talent, and the return is just not worth what you're going to get. What you're going to get in return for him is not worth it, and you really would have no really wide receiver 1 if you did trade him. So it doesn't make a lot of sense to me.
I'll quote Charles Hannigraf, our colleague here from Live at Lunch, who often uses this metaphor when talking about sports. I think it's Apollo 13 is the movie. It says, what do we got on the spaceship that's good? Because there's some kind of blow up and they're trying to get home. Well, what do we got that does work?
Yeah.
There's not a lot on the Saints spaceship that works. Olave is one of the things that works. Yeah. So let's keep that there and try to build on it is kind of my 2 cents on the issue. So no thank you to the Steelers on Chris Olave. All right, let's come back. We got 30 minutes to go. We'll find something to talk about. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
These are the luckiest ice cubes in the world. They could have been a thankless bed for an all-you-can-eat salad bar. But instead, they've been called upon to cradle and cool a crisp, refreshing Dos Equis. Looks like the lucky just got luckier. Dos Equis.
It's not just a game, it's a religion. You've got your team colors, team swag, and now your very own website. LouisianaSports.net. Everything LSU, Saints, and Pelicans. Sports on demand. In-depth coverage by sports writing pros with continuously updated news. And with the LouisianaSports.net newsletter, you get pinged directly with top trending stories. Best of all, now and always. No paywall. It's free. LouisianaSports.net. Powered by 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Your home for Louisiana sports.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Auctioner Andrews Institute. Long live you.
Man, age is just a number. Don't let it dictate how you feel. Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness has anti-aging services that can help you look and feel your best. Visit yourgoodwood.com and discover a renewed sense of vitality.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
At Luba Workers' Comp, our journey began over 30 years ago with a simple belief. Our clients come first.
At Luba, our business has always been focused on people, not policies.
Through every success and challenge, we've continued to grow because we've stayed true to our values, committed to providing you with genuine dependability.
Because your well-being is more than a priority. It's our purpose.
At Sunshine, we know what you see when you look at your land. Where others may see dirt, you see the foundation you've built your life on. It's hallowed ground. It's past, present, and future. We're proud to provide quality John Deere equipment to help you maintain the land you love. Check out our current promotions and learn more about what it means to be powered by sunshine at sunequip.com.
Family owned and community driven.
Service Chevrolet Cadillac, a legacy you can trust since 1972. Service Chevrolet Cadillac, our family serving your family.
For over 50 years.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
Friday shows brought to you by Corks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp. You've got graduation party coming up, got a birthday party coming up.
Shout out to Cassie graduating.
Shout out Cassie graduating today. Big deal. Awesome for Cassie. She'll be back in action, I'm assuming, on Monday, but spending some time with the family after walking across the stage today. So big shout out to Cassie Spazzali for graduating. If you're like Cassie and you're graduating, having the fam over, want to feed in bulk, Corks can always help you out with that. Got the big trays of that crispy fried catfish, jumbo Gulf shrimp, shoestring fries, honey butter rolls. They got it all, and they are happy to help you with your catering orders. So if you're feeding the office for a lunch and learn or something, got a birthday party coming up, check out the folks at Corks. You can check out the catering options at corksfishandshrimp.com, corksfishandshrimp.com. I wanted to talk a little bit about some of the things we saw in the game last night defensively. That play Stephen Milam made up the middle was absurd. I'm not even close to too proud to do this. I was dead wrong on Stephen Milam. I don't know if I was wrong on Stephen Milam. I just was skeptical of it, and that has turned out to be very silly. And I'll tell you, I was skeptical of it because I still have in my mind Stephen Milam's first fall. And I went out there and watched a number of scrimmages, and he was kicking it all around at second base like it was a game of soccer. Like, he was bad at second base. And they played him at second, and then they wanted to see if he could play some short, and then he got sick in the fall and couldn't practice. And, like, I'm just going, well, I know he doesn't have a cannon for an arm, and I've seen him make a lot of errors at second in the fall. Like, I'm not sure that's the guy you want to put at shortstop. And that was my mindset coming into the season. Like, I'll need to see it. Well, I've seen it, and I've seen it to the point that he may be the best defensive shortstop I've watched at LSU. Now, that is very high praise. Bregman became excellent his last year. I thought Austin Nola was sensational at shortstop when he was here at LSU. But Milam, I think, has 4 errors on the year, maybe 3 errors on the year, and has made some spectacular plays. And that play he made going to his left yesterday was sensational. So that gives me a lot of confidence. Milam and Dickinson up the middle is an excellent combination in college baseball. College infielders make a lot of errors, and those two guys have not. They've been really, really good up the middle of the field for LSU. The play that Josh Pearson made on that sinking line drive, and then the presence of mind to hop up and throw a strike to second base to double the guy off, wow. That looked like the play of the season because you immediately went from that and went and put a 2-spot up to take control and get Zach Cowan in the game. And that was going to be the play that won it for LSU in a tie game with 2 guys on to come make that play. And then you were going to win one of the last 2, and you were going to be a national seed, and that was going to be the defensive player of the year. Of course, LSU gagged the lead away, so now it's kind of lost. But that was incredible. It's not the most impactful defensive play that Josh Pearson has made in his LSU career. That, of course, was the catch of the Wyatt Langford sizzling line drive in Game 1 of the national final. But Pearson has played really good defense in mainly left field for 4 years now. He's a really good defensive outfielder, and that was a great play that he made last night. When it comes to the 2 balls that went off the wall that went for triples, one was in right center with Brown, one was down the left field line with Pearson. I saw some folks on the internet and in my mentions talking about you got to make that play, and Curiel makes that play in left, and Pearson doesn't. Both of those balls hit high up off the wall. Like, I'm not telling you it's an easy play. I'm not telling you that it's a play that you should make. I'm telling you, and I'm not telling you that it's impossible to make it. It would have been a really tough play to catch either one of those balls. I know that the guys got to the wall in both instances, but I don't fault Jake Brown or Josh Pearson for either of those plays. Like, they hit way above their head on the wall. So I think both of those are just triples that were hit pretty good off the bat. The play-by-play call on the last triple that the big left-hander hit was a little awkward. I'll tell you, like, just candidly, my observation of that, I was writing my story on my kitchen counter and not looking at the screen when it was hit. And I'm listening to him as I'm finishing a word on the keyboard. And in my head, as I'm listening, it sounds like it's going to be very much a foul ball.
It sounded like, so while I was watching it, when he hit it, it looked like he didn't hit it very well, and it looked like it was going to slice foul. And then all of a sudden, they're showing the camera, and who was in left?
That was Pearson at that point.
Pearson. So Pearson's backing up to the wall. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's going to go out. And then he jumps and misses it, and the guy's rounding third.
But it would have been and so I look up, and then all of a sudden it's a triple, and I'm going, you got to be kidding me. It gave me the same vibes. Most people probably don't remember this, but I was at the game, so it's a little bit more memorable for me. In Game 2 of the National Championship Series against Florida 2 years ago, Ty Evans hit a sky-scraping grand slam that just landed fair and over the wall in left field. And I was seated about halfway between third base and left field. And when he hit it, the wind was howling out. And when he hit it, it popped straight up in the air. And from my vantage point, I'm looking straight at it. I'm going, well, that's a pop-up into the outfield. And it just never came down. And that was kind of the vibes with that swing last night, where it just never came down and ended up being a triple. So, that's one where it shouldn't have gotten to that point. LSU should have put the game away earlier than they did, and then they didn't. And you got your best bullpen guy out there, and he just didn't necessarily come through. But I wanted to mention a couple of those things as well. I also wanted to mention that I thought that LSU did a couple of things really well. The hit and run that Jones smoked into left. Well, it wasn't hit and run. The runners were moving on a 3-2 count that Jones smoked into the outfield when Curiel got thrown out at third base, not sliding. That was good offense. And then the Jake Brown hit and run, that was a hit and run. The runner's going, he smokes it into right field, and you're able to wheel the guy into third base. That was really good offensive play there. And then Steven Milam facing a guy that throws a ball with a lot of sink on it and then threw him a breaking ball there. It's easy to roll that over. And Milam did a great job of getting underneath the baseball, hitting that sac fly, getting it into the outfield. And a big swing and a really good at bat there from a guy who's been struggling offensively. For him to get that ball into the outfield, I thought was very encouraging. Michael Braswell had a good night at the dish. Obviously, shouldn't have gotten thrown out at third base. But for him to to get 3 hits. He's been a nemesis of South Carolina. He lit him up in the SEC tournament last year, then was great again last night. Again, I talked about this at the top of the show. I did not think LSU's offense was terrible last night. In my story, I wrote they weren't good enough. Clearly they weren't. They lost the game. But it's not like you did nothing. There have been times where they've gone on the road this year and done nothing. Against Auburn, I think they scored in 3 innings in the whole weekend. Against Texas A&M, against the back end of that staff, they just were non-existent offensively. That's not the case in this game. You had 11 hits and you scored 5 runs. All the while, you rolled into 2 double plays and got thrown out at third base twice, which is not necessarily your bats. That's just poor play. But it's not like they're in some sort of massive funk. They hit the ball pretty hard last night. Hernandez scorched one that the left fielder made a diving catch on. They hit some balls really hard. I thought they hit a couple balls pretty well to center field that were the ball didn't carry. But they gotta score more runs tonight. I'd love to see the ball leave the ballpark a little bit. I gave a prediction yesterday. I think that Jared Jones breaks out this and hits 2 home runs this weekend. He hit the ball hard twice. I know he struck out twice. He hit the ball really hard twice as well, got 2 hits. And then there's one guy that, we need to start talking about a little bit here. I'm not concerned, but it's worth mentioning. Derek Curiel has hit a little bit of a wall here. Let's just call it what it is. He has 11 strikeouts in the last 7 games. And in the 11 games before that, he had 3. He was 1 for 15. It was a huge one against Arkansas. It was the 2-run single to tie the game in the 7th or 8th inning of the first game. Huge single to left field, but he didn't get a hit the rest of the weekend. He wasn't great last night. He did get on base twice via the base on ball and the hit by pitch, but he's not hitting the ball like he was early. And I feel like that's going to come back around, but it is worth mentioning. You've got a guy that's been so great all year, and you hear all the time about that cliche, the freshman wall, you hit the freshman wall. Let's hope that's not the case with Derek Curiel and that he does snap out of it, but he's swinging and missing a little bit right now. He's not hitting the ball as hard as he has previously. That's a guy LSU needs to wake up. So I'm calling for those 2 guys to kind of bust out a little bit. I still think Jared Jones hits 2 home runs this weekend. We'll see if that starts tonight. I would sincerely hope so. So again, our Friday show is brought to you by Corks, Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. We got 1 segment left to go. We will come back. I'll give you one more thought on the LSU-South Carolina game tonight. Get you maybe caught up on the PGA Championship leaderboard, and we'll get on down the road here on this Friday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge. GenesisofBatonRouge.com. Just go by and see the dealership. It's awesome. It is first class in every way. The building is state-of-the-art. The ambiance in there is great. It kind of feels like when you walk in there, you're walking into a 5-star hotel. It's got this nice little peaceful rock waterfall deal. The service aisle is incredibly clean. They've got snacks out for you. A tremendous coffee machine. When I went there last with Ellen, our AE on the account, she doesn't really drink coffee that much, and she had to go make a coffee because the coffee maker is so awesome over there. You can get any kind of coffee that you would like if you want to spend some time there while your car's in the service aisle. But as I always tell you, you don't have to spend time there because if you buy a Genesis of Baton Rouge, you get 3 years of complimentary valet maintenance, which means they'll come get your car and service it. It's an incredible experience, an incredible staff, an incredible facility, all there, airline at PQ. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge. If you're looking for a new vehicle and you haven't thought of a Genesis, just go stop by. Give it a look. Give it a try. I promise you will see the difference. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge. Go find every car that's on the lot online at GenesisofBatonRouge.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
At Atmos Energy, our Smart Choice solutions help customers save energy and emissions with rebates up to $500 off high-efficiency natural gas appliances, smart thermostats, and weatherization upgrades. Together, we're fueling our energy future.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
These are the luckiest ice cubes in the world. They could have been a thankless bed for an all-you-can-eat salad bar. But instead, they've been called upon to cradle and cool a crisp, refreshing Dos Equis. Looks like the lucky just got luckier. Dos Equis.
ED, low T, or simply seeking to optimize your health and performance? Goodwood Men's Sexual Wellness offers a range of discreet services to address your specific needs. We empower men to reclaim their health and confidence. Visit yourgoodwood.com.
At Auctioner, we know healing is a team sport. That's why we've partnered with world-renowned orthopedic surgeon Dr. James Andrews to create the Auctioner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute. Whether you're a professional athlete or a weekend warrior, our team of specialists are dedicated to getting you back in the game. So whatever your reasons are for reaching your personal best, we've only got one. You. Auctioner Andrews.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Quirks, Cajun fried fish and shrimp.
All right, I'm trying to find the I'm trying to find the promos for this week, and
how's that going?
It's a
bit of a struggle.
Yeah, for some reason I usually put the little flag on the emails when they're important. And
it's real fun when you're on live radio and you're trying to find something on your screen and you just can't find it. And you really don't know what to do while you're trying to fill the time. It's real fun.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense why. But anyways, the 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge Spring Cha-Ching, powered by Citizens Bank and Trust, is back. Register today at 1045ESPN.com for your chance to win $5,000 in cash. It's the Spring Cha-Ching from Citizens Bank and Trust and 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. I found it.
Good job, Beck.
Thanks.
Did you get a chance to listen to OTB this morning?
I didn't, actually.
Emotional show today, and that's to be expected.
Yeah.
Emotional for T-Bob for sure. Emotional for Alondra. Emotional for Taylor. I didn't see Jake cracking over there a little bit, but there was one point where T-Bob was talking and Jake's head was kind of in his hands, and I couldn't tell if he was like laughing or if he was like a little bit emotional. I couldn't quite tell. It was an emotional show. It's a bittersweet day for us here, I guarantee. I talked about this at the top of the show, but there's a lot of like last day of school vibes here. Just because of T-Bob's departure on this Friday. And it's, again, bittersweet for all of us here. I think something that I can certainly say, and it's such a testament to T-Bob and what he's meant here, is like the emotion was obvious from a lot of people, and it just feels like there's going to be a missing piece. And we're obviously so thrilled that they announced this morning that Matt Flynn is going to join Jacob Hester starting in June. On the show, and that's going to be awesome to have those two guys who have a great relationship, have a ton of chemistry, and obviously have a wealth of knowledge to handle our morning drive, which we're thrilled about. But T-Bob has been here for almost a decade, and this is undeniably true. He is one of one. And there's such a presence about him that you just can't replace. Matt and Jake are going to do an awesome job. I can't wait to listen. But you can't just go get the next T-Bob. And I mean that in the absolute best way. And he has been great to me, to everyone here, and he's done such a great job here. T-Bob and I are like exact opposites. I want to talk about sports all the time, and I want to get into the numbers, and I want to talk about the RPI, and I want to talk about things that most people probably don't love to talk about all the time. And T-Bob wants to get into pop culture, and he wants to have a good time, and he wants to deviate from things, and he's great at that, and I actually like that aspect of him. But he did such a great job. He's going to be so awesome at Barstool. That's a perfect fit for him, and we're so thrilled and proud of him for that. But undeniably, he's leaving a hole here, and that was very evident today because you can sense that people are sad about that. And we took a chance after their show to celebrate him this morning, and he certainly deserves it. And I can't wait to see what he does up there in Chicago. And when I go, which got to happen sooner rather than later. It's been 3 years since I got there for a Cubs game. I'll have somebody to get on the horn, so very much looking forward to that. And a huge congrats to T-Bob, and a job well done here at Guarantee, I think, is the best way to put that. He was phenomenal on our morning show for as long as he was, and he'll be a bright, shining star nationally with Barstool as he makes that transition here next month. All right, briefly, let's talk LSU and South Carolina before we get out of here. I made a decision earlier this morning talking about this game and looking at it, how I feel. Y'all know I'm bleeding purple and gold right there with you every step of the way. And Cade Anderson is not Paul Skeens. Cade Anderson's not Aaron Nola. And Cade Anderson has had some trouble with the home run ball at times. But the other piece of this is Cade Anderson is an immense talent. He is one of the best pitchers in college baseball. He's been awesome this year. He's able to get out of jams because he can strike guys out. He can work deep in games. He's shown he can be a workhorse. It's not anything for him to go out there and throw 115, 120 pitches. And so while last night stings and there's a bitter taste in everyone's mouth given that lead up, like, you have to feel awesome with Cade Anderson getting to baseball. Like, there are 14 other teams in the league that would probably, if given truth serum, trade their starting pitcher tonight for Cade Anderson. I think Tennessee's fine with Liam Doyle. They're probably not trading. Everybody else would. So once they throw the ball out on the mound tonight and Jake McCoy for South Carolina picks it up and Derek Carroll digs in and we're ready to roll, we're playing baseball tonight. Last night's over, and LSU's got Cade freaking Anderson on the mound tonight. That's a big deal, and that it gives LSU a massive leg up in this game. So all is not lost. Your postseason positioning is still okay. Your RPI is good. Your Quadrant 1 wins are good. Your position in the conference is good. Your conference wins are good. What the nation thinks of you is positive. You just got to go win one baseball game tonight. Win one baseball game. You win tonight. Anderson throws it great. Your bats come alive a little bit. You hit 3 balls out of the ballpark. You win a game 10-4. All of a sudden, the vibes completely shift going into Saturday when you hand the ball to Anthony Ianson. And this exact conversation I'm having to you with Cade Anderson translates to Anthony Ianson. And I would venture to guess there are 15 other teams in the SEC that would take Anthony Ianson in the baseball on Saturday based on who they have starting in that game. 15 other teams. So nothing changes from what I said on Monday, I opened the show on Monday. LSU's coming off a 2 out of 3 against Arkansas, and I said this. LSU is good enough to win the national championship. They're good enough to beat anybody. That doesn't mean they're getting out of their own regional. It doesn't mean they're getting a national seed, but everybody's got warts. Everybody's got flaws. LSU's certainly not immune to that. But they are good enough when they play well. And they're certainly good enough when they're at home. And the point of the next 48 hours, actually closer to 24, 27, is to make sure that you're playing at home the rest of the postseason. And that starts with handing the ball to Cade Anderson, who is going to be a first-round pick next month. So I'm bummed out about last night. It was it was an awful loss. But it's gone. You've got one of the best pitchers in the country going tonight. You're playing a team that's not very good. You need to go out there, handle your business, and get to tomorrow with a chance to play one game for a national seed. And I'll be pretty honest with you. If you told me February 1st, when we were 2 weeks to opening day, hey, you can have one game to go play it against a team that has 6 league wins to go be a national seed and play your games at home, I would have taken that 10 out of 10. In a heartbeat, I would have taken it. So the point of today is to get to tomorrow. And to get to tomorrow, you got one of the best dudes on the bump. That's a big, big deal. And at 6 o'clock, it's time to go get him. So that's my pep talk for the day to the LSU team that is assuredly not listening. But maybe to you, the fan, get a little fired up. I'm going to head out of here. Probably going to grab a margarita on the way home. Let's just be honest about it. Probably going to happen. And then we'll settle in, watch some baseball, and hopefully LSU plays a better ball game than they did last night. LSU in South Carolina tonight at 6 o'clock. You can listen on our sister station, Eagle 98.1. Pregame fires up at 5:30. It'll be Chris Blair and Bill Franquez on the call. Out the PGA Championship, Jonathan Vegas has the lead. He was great again today, shot a 70. He is 8 under, 2 clear of Matthew Pavon. Alex Smalley in that group. Max Homa, really good round today of 64. He is 5 under. Not a very good leaderboard in terms of the names, but we'll see what materializes over the weekend. Scotty Scheffler, Rory McIlroy still out on the golf course this afternoon. So I'll be watching all of that this morning as well. Fired up this afternoon as well. Fired up for Monday's show. We'll react to all the things that happen in the next 2 ball games, and I'll certainly dive deep into LSU's postseason resume as we'll have the SEC tournament bracket all set up. So join us for that. Our Friday shows are brought to you by Cork's Cajun Fried Fish and Shrimp. Need a po' boy? No better spot to get it than our friends over at Cork Government between Foster and Jefferson's, online at corksfishandshrimp.com. Missed any of the show today? Catch it on demand. Wherever you find your sound, 1045ESPN.com's on demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google. Search Hunt Palmer Show. Like, subscribe, rate, review. We appreciate your feedback and appreciate y'all for getting our content in front of as many folks as we can. Open the show talking baseball. Preston Guy talking some football. Koki Riley joined us from Columbia. All that on demand wherever you get that sound. We're out of here. Matt Moscona is going to drive you home and finish your work week out. We'll see you Monday, same time, same place, for another edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.